This is going to be a really quick, simple, easy, and maybe a little bit of a fun video. We're going to go inside of the KEF R11 cabinet and see what they do under the hood. Now, the inspiration behind this video is when I first bought the KEF R11s, a lot of people told me that, yeah, they look good and sound great, but the components, the quality of components that are on the inside are subpar. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and see what's inside. Now, I don't know if this voids a warranty or not, but I think it'll be okay. So behind these rings, these are just little ring plates here. They pop off, and their purpose is to not only, look aesthetically pleasing, but they do make the drivers look bigger. But their main purpose is to cover the screws that are underneath here that are holding the drivers in place. So we're gonna open two of these. We're gonna open up this one here and the Uni-Q driver itself and kind of see what's underneath the hood. So we're gonna do that right about now. So stay tuned and let's see what's inside the KEF R11 speakers. Uni-Q drivers out, and this is a very heavy driver. So you have your mid-range and then you have your tweeter built into it. That's their Uni-Q array driver system they've been using for years. So you have your mid-range driver that's separated from the cone itself. You guys can see there's a little, little space between this waveguide that the tweeter's housed in and then the mid-range is around it. And so you have two drivers in one to try to keep all the voices centralized and there's no disconnection between, mid-bass frequencies and the voices. It all sounds from one blended area, which is right here at ear level. So like I said, this is a very heavy driver, and because there are two different drivers, there's two separate leads of power going to it. On this side here, the blue and black wires going to the mid-bass itself, the mid-range, and then on the other side, which I'll be careful turning around so I don't pull the wires, but there are some some green and black wires here for, looks like the Uni-Q itself. Now, a really big magnet on this thing. It's massive, and it's kind of funny because this driver doesn't do a lot of movement. This is just made for around the voices, basically. Male voices, lower female voices, they come through here. A lot of other things like car doors, something when you close it, something with mid-bass, it all comes through here. So it's really impressive that they have this huge of a magnet on something like this because if there's not a lot of cone travel on this particular speaker. So I can't imagine what these feel like, but this really is a heavy speaker. Now, if you guys get to look underneath it a little bit, hard for you guys to see, and I don't know how I'm going to get you guys in there without, dropping the speaker, but you guys can see on the inside that we have a lot of dampening, and if I can get it back to focus, it's also, let me see if I can get it to focus for you guys. Let's see if I can grab that. There you go. So it's sealed inside. It's a sealed enclosure on the inside. So it's not, it's enclosed from the rest of the speaker. There is some dampening here. There's some pad around here to keep it damp, keep the standing waves to a minimum. So it's very well constructed, at least as far as the build quality and the thought of this box. Very, as you guys can see, very inert box, very stiff, not a lot of resonance on the inside, which means less coloration from the box itself. So far, quality is very, very, very good, at least from this Uni-Q driver system right here. It is recessed inside this baffle for a nice look. But yeah, as you guys can see, it's filled with polyfill, and it is completely sealed off. It feels like, yeah, completely sealed off on the inside, and then it just sits back into the box, if I can get it in there. It just sits back in there just like so. So yeah, that is the Uni-Q mid-bass driver. Let's take out another one and see what we find out. So even though I did it, I never really recommend using power tools when it comes to removing or installing speakers, because if you do slip and you hit the driver, that is on you, and a lot of people won't fix that for you or be covered under warranties. Probably not under warranty taking these apart either, but we're doing it anyway. So you guys can see inside this little baffle here, there is so usually speakers have surrounds on the outside, right? And then you can see them skirt when you use them. This is detached from the ring terminal, or this ring around here. So different kind of speaker in comparison to what you usually see. We should be able to pop this out if I can get it. It is really nicely in there, so that's good. Let me see if I can get my fingers in here. There we go. So let's see how this feels in comparison as far as weight goes. So this actually doesn't feel as heavy as the Uni-Q bass driver. It's just as deep, just as stout, but it's not as heavy. But still looks like really good quality there. So you guys can see the speaker itself. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Pretty good quality, pretty nice magnet, pretty good motor structure, I would say. There's the spider, there's the tinsel leads. You can see kind of the thin wire that's used inside of here. That's what I noticed with the Uni-Q driver. This is pretty thin wire in my comparison. This looks like 18 gauge, maybe 20 gauge wire. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because the wire that we use coming from our receiver or amplifier to our speakers is usually 16 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge. Because we have high quality, high powered components, we need that power to transfer efficiently. But this here is really thin wire, which is surprising to see. And maybe it's okay. Maybe it's rated to meet the specifications necessary for the amount of power that these speakers can handle. But for me personally, I would like to see thicker wire on here. And I have the ability and the knowledge to swap these out, but I don't think I will. I don't think that it's absolutely necessary, but it is interesting to note. Now I'm trying to get you guys inside here if I can. I'm using one hand, obviously. So inside the box here, it's probably hard for you guys to see, but we do have more of an opening in this here. The port is back here. I don't know if you guys can really see in there like I want you to, but there is a port back here. So it is ported on this one. It's sealed, I believe, on the top one and then ported. And so you can see there's some nice bracing here to keep things stiff. Make sure there's no cabinet residencies. It looks like there is some cutouts that go into the Uni-Q section too. So it's not completely sealed in the Uni-Q. It's more sealed off in the Uni-Q, it looks like. But it looks like, no, I'm wrong actually, kind of filling in here. It's still sealed in the Uni-Q driver, but there are some cutouts here to, I guess, make the box feel more big to the cone. But really nice bracing here, so there is no flexing in like that. There is absolutely a bunch of polyfill in the back to keep the standing waves to a minimum, clean up the sound, and make the box feel bigger to the speaker. Polyfill makes the box, speaker feel like it's in a bigger enclosure than it really is. So there's tons of polyfill throughout this entire speaker. But let's go back to the driver itself one more time so you guys can see it. Looks really cool, nice silver kind of finish. Really nice and nimble, pretty lightweight as well, so it'll move really quickly on those high frequencies. Like I said, pretty nice motor structure, so it should reach pretty good bass frequencies. It does have a nice pull piece in here, so this allows air to pass through, allows it to stay cool in high volumes with lots of power. So that is really nice to see. I'm kind of disappointed in the size of the leads, but that is whatever. Same thing, the tinsel leads here are just about the same size as the speaker wire, a little bit smaller. But it does the job, I'd say. So they did enough, but not overdo it. They didn't overpromise anything. They didn't underpromise either, I guess you could say. So it looks really cool. Quality-wise, it's not too bad. I can't see the crossovers or anything just yet. We'll try to find the crossovers inside the box if we can. But you do see the port in the back. It's not a very long port. I'll try to get some B-roll of that. It's not a very long port on the inside, so that's interesting to see there too. But let's see if we can't get to the crossover potentially. So here is where all the speakers are connected to. This is your terminals here. We never really talked about this much whenever I first purchased my R11s. So you have HF and low F. HS for high frequency, LF is for low frequencies. We're probably pretty used to having terminals like this, binding posts that have two sets of positive and negative. This is optional for you if you want to buy amp or buy wire your speakers. In my case, I buy wire. I don't buy amp because I have external amplification, so I don't need to. But I do buy amp it, so the high frequencies, meaning the tweeter, gets its own set of power, and then the low frequency drivers get its own set of power instead of jumping them back and forth. Now you can jump these back and forth. KEF uses this twist style terminal that links the high frequency and low frequency together. So instead of having some type of jumper cable or some type of metal rod between the two that jumps them, you can just twist these. And if you twist them to the left, it links high frequency, low frequency, so that you can use these individually, or you can keep them closed. Or excuse me, I said that backwards. If you close them, it links them together, so you can use one set of power wire to power the whole thing, or you can unlink them so that you can have two sets of power wire to power both high frequency and low frequency together. Now on the back here is kind of how everything is kind of mixed together. I can't pull it too far out because of the wire. This is the back side here. This is not the crossover. This is just directing the power to where it needs to go. The crossover is built in kind of in the back here, which I don't want to have to get into. I'm going to try my best to get a shot in here. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it with this camera, because it's kind of dark on the inside. I'm going to try to brighten this up as far as I can for you guys. It's going to look a little bit weird. But back there in the very back is the crossover underneath the polyfill back there. And that's where some of the complaints came from other consumers, that their materials that they use, the crossover board, for example, isn't the best. Now, the crossover point is great. It sounds really good. Everything blends well. But they say the materials that are used, the components that are used inside of this isn't the best, is what other people say. Now, I am not at all enough of an audio engineer to know what's good and what's bad. I just know that if it works well and it sounds great, then I have no complaints. So other people are a little more into this kind of hobby, and they look into these kinds of things, and people say if you upgrade the crossovers and things like that, you'll get a better sound. Well, maybe, but if I want a better sound, I'm just gonna buy better speakers, and that's my personal opinion. But you guys can kind of see the crossover way back inside of there. See if I can autofocus it for you. Probably not, there's just a lot going on, but that's the crossover back there in the back, mounted to the side of the baffle or side of the box itself, the enclosure. So let me lower the brightness back down to acceptable levels there, and we'll take a closer look here at the plate terminals there. Really high quality. It goes right there. Now this is just a hard plastic, but the terminals themselves is pretty nice, so not bad at all. And then you guys can kind of see the ports. The ports are very short. I saw them on the inside of the box. They're very short ports, so I don't know exactly what their tuning is to this box, but I would say it's probably mid 30s or so. With how small the enclosure is and how small the port is, it's probably not that deep, maybe a little bit lower than that, but that's just my guess. There's two ports on this that you can plug with the port plugs, so that is the inside of the KEF. Alright guys, that was the inside of the KEF R11 speaker. Let me know what you guys think. It's not every day we can go in here and see inside the speakers. I don't really recommend going into your speakers and taking a look inside, because some manufacturers have a way of knowing if you've been inside, they may void your warranty. I don't think that this would avoid my warranty just opening them up. They probably can't even tell that I did. But I don't recommend it because some manufacturers are a little bit more strict about, you know, what you can and can't do for speakers that may or may not void warranty. So, but I wanted to go ahead and look inside of the KEF R11s because they are really good speakers. They sound incredible. They look really, really good. And KEF's known for some pretty high quality sound. I wanted to see if that sound translated to the inside of the cabinet. And for me personally, it does. I'm happy to see the bracing inside, happy to see the quality of the drivers and the motor structure. I'm kind of disappointed on the leads on the inside. I would like to see at least 12 gauge in here, maybe 16 minimum, just because I do pump a lot of power to these speakers. So the more efficient wire that I have, the better. But maybe it's good enough for the job, or they wouldn't have put it in here in the first place. So really quality speaker. I'm curious to see inside more speakers. Maybe we'll make a series out of this, what's inside series or something like that, so that we can see inside some of these speakers and see what's underneath the hood and how manufacturers get the sound that they do. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below in the comment section what you think about KEF quality. Is it good stuff? Have you looked inside a speaker? What is your opinion on KEF quality, their components and everything? Let me know that down below in the comment section. Hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday night, and we'll see you in the next video. Kpaceguy out. Peace.
I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.